Hi, I'm Denise Raleigh from the Gail Borden Public Library, and we are so happy to be back talking about Violins of Hope, this project that has had so much meaning for so many people, both locally in the metro Chicago area and across the United States, actually. It's about violins that were played before and during the Holocaust that are now part of an exhibition talking about hope. And I'm here with Hillary Wenk, who has been instrumental and working arduously
Thank you.
For many, many months to bring this project to Chicago Metro. First, please tell us a little about yourself and about the JCC.
So I work for JCC Chicago in our community engagement department. Our department covers programming from 2 to 102, so all ages. And JCC Chicago is an organization that is wanting to build community throughout the state of Illinois. We're the only JCC here in the state of Illinois. So these violins have given us an opportunity to work with other organizations across the state that we never probably would have been able to work with before. And so the violins give us the opportunity to fight anti-Semitism, to leave the world a better place for the next generation, while also sharing the ideas of hope, resilience, and resistance.
And before we move forward, only because I don't want to wait to the end of the video to talk about this, but the Siegel Foundation and the Palmer Foundation have been very instrumental in allowing us to do so much more with the exhibit that you gave us the opportunity to host here in the Elgin area.
And across the Violins of Hope project altogether, we've got the Pritzker Military Museum and Library that's been helping us, the MacArthur Foundation, the Walder Fund, and Gelmar, who've really stood up and taken the opportunity to really help us get these messages across.
So thank you to everyone who made this exhibit,
Yep.
the programs,
The project,
happen, the project,
everything.
yes. And so, Hillary, explain the violin that you have in your hands.
So right now I am holding the Yakov Zimmerman violin. It has a beautiful star right here on the front of it. And Yakov Zimmerman was a violin maker. And so he made violins for people in his hometown, Christian, Jewish, all faiths, all nationalities. And I think that you're using one of those violins in a lot of your promotions.
Yes, we have him. If you've come to the Gail Borden Public Library, as many people have, and we thank you all for the many people across Chicagoland who have come to visit our exhibit here. But you will see Shimon Krungold standing up next to our book of Violins of Hope, and you will see him holding that violin. This is particularly interesting and very meaningful to us, is to see this in person. And this is the one he was holding. He did not make it through the war himself. The person that we have with this violin, he was an industrialist who was an amateur violinist. And so, as so many of these violins, and we're going to talk about a few more that are coming in, have just a variety of meaningful stories and how it came back onto the project. Very interesting.
Yeah, and some of them are, we have the stories of the owners of the violins and what happened to them. Others are dedicated to people who did amazing things during the war. They were upstanders. They looked out for, people who weren't being treated kindly. Many saved lives of countless Jews and other people who were being persecuted during the war. So it's an amazing collection.
It is, the variety of stories and the meaning of these violins is extraordinary. I want to backtrack a little bit and say, if you came before to see the violins that we did have on display, as you can see behind us, we will have all new,
Yes.
all new collection of violins with different stories.
Yep.
So please stop back.
Yep, 10 different violins from the previous. I mean, maybe we should share why you got a different exhibit. The violins went back to Israel for a week. Every year they must touch ground in Israel as part of a carnate, which is an antiquities tax. So they went back to Israel about a week and a half ago, got touched down, came back. We picked them up in the middle of that beautiful weather we had last Wednesday with all the rain and the tornadoes, but they're back and they're safe. So we are lucky enough to, give you a second go with 10 totally different violins than the first exhibit.
With 10 new poignant stories,
Yes.
which is amazing. Let's talk about the next one, which is the Fievel Weniger violin.
Yeah, so this is the Fievel Weniger violin. It's a pretty simple violin. It's Italian made, Amati. And Fievel was a pretty prestigious violin player in Transylvania, Transistia, wherever it was that he lived. And so he used this violin to help not only feed himself, but 17 other people in the ghetto that he was living in. He played in weddings and he played for special events. There was a local judge who really liked his playing, and so that helped him, survive along with many other people. And then the violin was brought by one of his family members to Israel and rehabilitated, and now it's part of the collection.
It's also part of our signage, and it has been part of our signage from the beginning, and part of it is we have a good image in our collection here and our poster walls. But again, the story of the impact of what these violins meant to so many families and so many players is such a variety of stories. It's amazing and so important that we hear what these did, and to hold those in your hands. I've just been touched by, the stories, and these are the actual violins.
And I think we talked about it when we first came and visited the library, and we said, when we have kids come to visit, let's ask them if they only had an hour to decide what they were taking with them if they had to leave their house, what would they take? And it's amazing to me, I don't know that a violin would be the first thing that I would think to take with me if I knew that I was leaving and didn't know when I'd be back.
Or where you were going.
Exactly.
So many of them didn't know where they were going, but it turned out like those that showed up and could play,
right, there
might have been a different outcome.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they saved a lot of people's lives, these violins. It's amazing. It really is simply amazing that a few strings and some wood.
And some talent.
And some talent, absolutely, could save a person's life.
Oh, very amazing. And that you would be in that position is something that we never want.
Exactly.
These kind of dilemmas ever, horrific dilemma ever to be in front of people again. But
and yet, I don't know that we always remember what's happened in the past, because some of these things continue to happen across the world.
Yeah. When you visit here, we do have an opportunity for people to provide some input, like what difference this can make, having visited this. Is there a little nudge in people's lives to be the upstander, whether they be big or small issues? So,
right. What's the takeaway, and how do you use what you've learned here at the library or at any other place that talks about, being a good person or being an upstander, and how do you change your small little place in the world?
Yeah, so important. Let's talk about the Van der Veen violin. And again, we do put a catalog out so that people can read the stories that we do of the violins that we do not have on display. And again, let me talk about, we have the violins that are not playable. The playable violins are wonderfully being played.
Yes, and that's really one of the key components, I think, of the exhibit. exhibition is that there are violins that can't be played. You had one here previously, the Heil Hitler violin that had a swastika on the inside. That violin will never be played in this collection. It just won't be. And there's also music that you can't play on these violins. Like, you cannot play Wagner. He was a known anti-Semite, and the principal, Afshi Weinstein, behind the project, you can play anything on these violins but that. And what's interesting is when the violins were being played in the concentration camps and the orchestras, no music by Jewish composers was played. It was all German composers, and they played Wagner. So it's interesting to see the full circle of what can and can't be done with these.
Yes, and the music that you will sometimes hear in this exhibit is by a local professional violinist, Jennifer Silk, but it is Mendelssohn that she is playing. So
very popular. So this is the Van der Veen, and it went to Australia, which was really cool. And she was a ballerina. She was a violinist. She also became popular in movies. She was in the Ten Commandments, which we know is ridiculously old by now, right?
Right.
And everybody watches that.
So
very
last
long
century.
Yeah, because it's right. Very last century, but a totally interesting film. And now I'm going to have to go back and see if I can figure out where she is in the film.
Right.
So she and her mom escaped to Holland. They rode bicycles to save themselves, and so never actually in the camps, but used this violin to get her around and with her ballet dancing. What's really interesting about this violin, besides that the player was in the Ten Commandments, is that she was so famous that Anne Frank had a photo of her on her wall in the hiding place that she and her family were in during the war before they were found out.
Yeah.
So
quite a violin with quite a backstory.
Yep.
And like you said, you're riding on a bicycle, and you choose to bring that.
It just keeps amazing me. Like, even now we're halfway through this exhibit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the violins have been all over the state. I still don't know what I would take if I was told I had to leave my house in an hour. Like, I don't know that there's. I mean, obviously your family,
and you're
right?
walking most of
Right.
the time.
You're walking, and obviously you want your family to be safe. That's probably the top of my list. But like, what would I take? It's amazing to me.
That's a great question, though. Maybe a new engagement part for our exhibit. What would you take
Exactly.
if you get notified that you have an
And
hour?
you're not even really like
pack.
notified, right? Like, they are just running up and down the streets yelling like that you have to get out, and they're taking you to who knows where. Like, what would I take?
And the luggage display at the Illinois Holocaust Museum, I think, tells a little bit of that story as well, and what gets left as well.
Right, yep.
So this one was of particular interest to a library, and this is called the Silberstein. And again, we're so honored that you chose to display this here.
Well, you asked for it because it has a beautiful story.
I did ask for it.
And it has a book, right?
A book.
That goes with it.
It is a French book. Do you speak French?
I do not.
Okay. I don't much either.
But it's a children's book that talks about this violin and where it came from and how we got it. So what's important to know is that every time Afshi, who's the principal behind the project and who travels with the violins, he was here in the library for your opening night, everywhere he goes, someone brings him a violin, right? Everywhere. So since the exhibit has been here in Illinois, this is one of 2 violins that he has received. So this one is the Silberstein violin, and he received it in Paris, which is where the family lives, and I believe there's some video that you'll be able to hopefully show, I think.
We're hoping we will be able to show that
video. We showed
video.
it before, so
okay.
I think it'll be okay. We actually brought this violin into the collection at our opening night concert. So a young man played the song that was played by Afshi's wife in the video. And so super, super amazing. This young lady, her parents encouraged her to learn how to play the violin. She was in, she was out, she was in, she was out. This violin really helped save her life. So she went to the concentration camps where they had these orchestras that played for the SS, for the guards, for, Mangala, all different sorts of horrible people. And she tried out for the orchestra when she first got there, and she didn't make it, and it was heartbreaking for her. She understood that this could save her life, and maybe her family's life, because when you were in the orchestra, you got a little bit more food, you got a little bit more water, so you were able to sustain yourself marginally better than people who aren't in the orchestra. And the woman who was in charge of the orchestra, not such a nice person either, because there were Jews that they put into positions of power over their fellow Jews, and some of them took that power to heights that
there's a lot of academic research on that particular women's orchestra and that women's camp.
Yeah. So a few weeks later, they have a new head of this orchestra, and one of her friends says, try again, try again. She tried again, and she made it. And so the violin, she played in the orchestra, and it helped to save her life. She went on to live a good life. And so this just came to the collection not too long before the violins came to us in April.
And the video, which we hope we will play, it shows the emotion of that's being played, and the impact it had on. And this is it the 100th violin in the collection?
It is the 100th
and
violin.
Every one of them, excuse me, has an impact story of such significance. That it's unbelievable, and these are continually coming in to tell stories to all the rest of us.
So another violin that you'll be getting in a couple of weeks, because we're going to consecrate it, is the Eisenberg. The Michael, it's the Alfred Eisenberg. Michael is his son who gave the violin to Afshi. And so we're going to consecrate it on August 8th at a program at the Pritzker Military Museum and Library. And then it's going to come up here to you guys.
Oh, we're so honored. Again, these violins will be for here through mid-September for everyone to enjoy their stories and to view these. We're very honored to be able to touch these today. We will have them for everyone to see, both the front and the back of these.
Yeah, they're really, really very special. I may have told you this before, but this is a highlight of my career. I mean, we knew that this was going to be big. When we first started out, we said, if we can do 50 programs throughout the state, it'll be a success. And I think we're closing in on 125.
Oh, and talk about, you're going to have something at
Oh,
near
yeah.
the Cubs, near Wrigley Field.
Yeah, so at Gallagher Way on August 8th, we are having a concert. It's called Growing Hope Concert, and it's really for teens and tweens to come out and hear really amazing TikTok artists and the top Israeli pop violinist. A couple of other groups will be there, and it's a free concert right out in Gallagher Way. I mean, it's just beautiful there. So people can visit our website, jccchicago.org, for more information and to get their free tickets. So we hope you'll definitely join us for that.
Oh, that's wonderful. I want to mention that, excuse me, so we're thankful for so many libraries joining this collaborative effort. So on August 1st, we will be offering the Eyes of a Friend. And this is in conjunction with, and I'm going to read these so I don't leave someone out, Arlington Heights Memorial Library, Schaumburg Township Library, Joliet Public Library, Vernon Area Public Library, Aurora Public Library, Skokie Public Library, and Gailborden. So
it's unbelievable the reach. Like, we came to you guys, and then how this just morphed into this great partnership, and we couldn't be, the JCC couldn't be more thankful for everything that you have done here at Gailborden with the help of your funders to just expand this in ways, again, that we just didn't think would
we're
happen.
honored. And libraries, the idea of telling stories that can make a difference in people's lives is, and with inaccuracy, is something that's near and dear to our hearts. So we're very thankful for these other libraries for participating. Again, the program that happens at Gailborden is hybrid, and that you can be in person, but it is told in the perspective of Anne Frank's best friend.
Yeah.
And that's at 2 o'clock here. And then, and this is a family, it's for families, but we're saying there will be disturbing images in this, so please think about that before you make a decision to come or watch it online. But it is for families, and then we'll have a more adult perspective at 7 p.m., and that's at Aurora Public Library. On August 11th,
yeah, we're excited. You're going to at the Arlington Heights Library, Chris Edmonds, Pastor Chris Edmonds will be there. He is the son of Master Sergeant Roddy Edmonds, and Roddy Edmonds was captured at a POW camp at the end of the war, and he was the highest ranking official from the U.S. military. And the highest ranking official from the Germans came to him and said, tomorrow morning you are going to hand over all the Jews in your platoon. And he was like, okay. So next morning comes, and the guy from the German side comes and says, okay, turn over all your Jews. And he said, no, I'm not going to turn over Jews. We are all Jews here. And so with a gun to his head, he stood his ground, and finally the German officer stepped back, and so Roddy Edmonds saved 200 Jewish lives that day. And so he is truly an upstander, and he's been honored as righteous among the nations through Yad Vashem. So we're excited to have his son come and talk about his dad and share his story and just the true example of how he's not Jewish. He was in a really tough situation, but he knew to do the right thing. And so those are the kinds of stories, that's a story I know well because it touches my heart in a very special way. So we're excited to have Chris here.
We are, and that's at noon, and that will be hybrid, so one can attend it at Arlington Heights Public Library, and you go to their website to find out how to register, or you can watch that online. So we thank you guys for making this available to us.
Absolutely.
And we have a few other programs that we're going to offer here in September, and I'm going to read those. The Suitcase is going to be offered on September 7th here at Gailborden, and that is, I'm going to go ahead and read this, is a one-man multimedia show that blends narrative storytelling, books, photo, video, and music to tell of one family's experience before, during, and after the Holocaust.
And it's a good time for people to come because you'll only have the exhibit for about another week, right?
That is
Before
true.
they move on to the next city. So definitely come out for that.
And we'll have another music program on Wednesday, September 13th at 6:30 p.m. and that's the ESO String Quartet, and that's in the Meadows Community Rooms. So we're so grateful and honored that you all reached out to this library to host this unbelievably memorable exhibit, and to see the people it's impacted. To read our guest book is phenomenal, to see the lives that it's touching.
I mean, this partnership came out of something totally different, right? When we reached out to the library before COVID to do some film with you, and it just turned into this amazing, amazing partnership. I mean, the Elgin community should be very proud of what they do and how they work together to see what seems like seamlessly bringing amazing programming to this community, from the ESO to your relationship with Rabbi Margaret, the school district. It's
Music on the Fox.
Yeah, Music on the Fox. I mean, you guys really know how to work together as a community, and it's our privilege to be here and to learn from you.
Oh,
so thank
well, we
you.
thank you, and we thank you so much, Hillary, for bringing
Of course.
these wonderful 10 new violins that are going to be on display here through mid-September. Please visit again. Please visit if you haven't come the first time. You'll be in awe of the stories of these violins. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise.